Hey guys, this is the Mimo Podcast. Thank you very much for joining and listening to this fourth episode. As you might not know, Mimo is the platform where you can use your crypto without selling it. We allow you to lock your volatile assets such as Ethereum or Bitcoin in vault, so you can get some stablecoin and, well, essentially leverage the liquidity of your assets without having to sell them. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this later. But first, let me introduce you the guest today. The guest today on this podcast is Anthony from Swissborg. So he's going to introduce himself. Then we're going to discuss how is it to work at Swissborg, and you're just going to let the conversation flow. So I just want to tell to anybody who's listening that we do not have our general host today. Nick is not here. I'm going to host the podcast, so please bear with me. So, well, Anthony, thanks for joining. And, well, who are you and what are you doing and what exactly is Swissborg? I mean, this is a very nice logo on your hat, but yeah, what?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Claude, for the invitation, and welcome to the Mimo community and hopefully the Swissborg community as well. I think we have a beautiful background today. I think we spend a lot of time working and we don't necessarily always appreciate that we live in this beautiful Dubai. But yeah, so I'm Anthony, I'm a co-founder and I'm in charge of both product and investment at Swissborg. So what is Swissborg? Swissborg is a platform. We have an app. We have 500,000 users, and our goal is to democratize wealth management in crypto. I think when you look at Binance, all the big platforms, it's all about trading. What we try to bring on the table is an approach that is more relative to the investment in crypto. So we look at crypto as the new asset, the asset that everyone should possess because most probably is the future. And it's come not only as an investment, it comes as a philosophy as well. And I think one of the best assets of Swissborg, beside the technology and all the investment we've made, is as well we are community centric. So most of the platform you see right now, they sell crypto because it's a very good product to sell, right? It's one of the best product you can sell at the moment. But do they really believe in the philosophy and the DNA of crypto? I'm not sure. And at Swissborg, I think it's one of the part that is very different from all the other platform you can find is every revenue that we make, we reinvest them either in the community, in our token, or in the blockchain ecosystem as a whole. And I think it's very important. We live in a critical moment of crypto where many, many newcomers are coming, people from the traditional finance, and you need to ask yourself each time you involve yourself with a crypto system, does this crypto system help the big picture, which is the blockchain ecosystem as a whole, or is it just another company coming to make money and take this money out of the system and just go back to the traditional financial system? And I think that's why I love Mimo so much as well.
Thanks a lot for the kind words. I mean, this philosophy is really something that we've realized we share quite a while back. I mean, just to give some context here, Anthony and I go back to 2017. Like we've met here in Dubai, actually, here in Dubai, in a conference because we were raising funds for Talcoin, whereas they were raising funds for Swissborg, and we realized back then already that even though our products were not in the same space at all, our idea of what crypto was already quite similar. Like, I mean, crypto is one thing, and that is actually pretty simple, but everybody has a different idea about it, right? You do have, as you said, the get rich quick type of people. You do have those who see it as a new investment class that they would like to incorporate in the current financial system, and you do have those who see it as a gateway outside of the current financial system. And I guess we belong to that third category, right? We belong to those who believe that, well, we're given the tools and we are given the tools to build the tools, right? To essentially let people out of the system. So, which I think is a pretty nice segue on how is it to work at Swissborg. Like, you guys are essentially trying to rebuild a new way of doing wealth management. Wealth management has been around for ages, right? And what makes you think that you can do better? And then how do the people working there like really take their mission? How is it? What's a typical day at Swissborg? Like, you guys are distributed just the way we are, even though you have an office, which by the way, by seeing your videos, your office looks like pretty badass. And I mean, you do have like many interesting things. I guess we won't be able to cover every position at Swissborg, but yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what it is to work at Swissborg?
For sure. So as you mentioned, we belong to the breed of 2017. I think when you belong to this breed, it's very special because we knew the craziness that I think we experiment right now with all the project doing 100x in a few months. And then we experienced the collapse and a very hard crypto winter for 2 years. And it tells a lot, right, to be still here after 4 years. I think when you meet people that belong to this breed and they're still here and they still fight for their vision, because of course it's going to take years, it tells a lot. And so Swissborg, we started this journey, the two of us, myself and Cyrus. Now we are more than 200. It's difficult to keep up with numbers, to be honest. Yeah, but that's the beauty as well, I think, of growing a business. Is at the beginning, you do almost everything in the company, from marketing to talking with people that build your technology and all these things. And then the part of a founder is to learn to recruit people that can understand your vision. It's beyond skills. I think few days ago or a few weeks ago, there was a friend of mine that was just a guest at home, right? And she's working in like normal job, but she has this dream, right? To found a community somewhere, and it doesn't matter that much. But we had this conversation, and I say, why don't you ever try, right, to build your dream, to quit your normal job and do the thing that you believe in? And she told me, I think I don't have as much skills as is required to make it happen. And I told her, it's never about the skills. It's how much, when you take Elon Musk, for example, he's not the best engineer in the team, but he's most probably the one person in the world that believe the most, we are going to travel to Mars. And that, I think that's what makes great leaders. They believe in their vision so much, more than anyone else. And it only what it takes to become a leader. And if you start a business and you have this strong vision, and it's not going to be easy, sometimes it's going to be, everything will appear, it goes in my direction. And sometimes you are going to be challenged, and you are challenged just to find out, do I believe in my vision that much? And so growing pretty much a crypto business or any business, any startup, because at the end of the day, it's a human adventure anyway. Mm-hmm. It's finding the ability to find great leaders that understand your vision. Of course, to have some extent good technical skills as well, that they can make this dream a reality. And when I look at my team at Swissborg, so now we are, as I say, 200, specifically product and investment. We are almost, I think, 25 people now. And the typical day is trying to keep up with the pace of the ecosystem. So trying to keep going and executing our roadmap and still keeping, let's say, the eyes open to be aware of what's going on around. There is a ton of innovation coming to the space. The space go extremely fast, break all the rules. What we try to do at Swissborg, I think one of the motto we have is to try to build a superior user experience that people as well can come in a safe manner. We emphasize a lot on safety and security of the fund, and as well enjoy themselves. I think when you were asking myself, how do you believe you can challenge the wealth management? I don't think we're going to challenge from financial engineering perspective, but I believe until now, the investment process was quite painful. I need to go to my bankers. Most probably I'm going to feel like shit. I don't know nothing. This guy know everything, which is not true. But that's the feeling, because this industry has been built on fear. The fear of, not investing, being too complex, and etc. And what we try to do at Swissborg is systematically make it simpler, make it more accessible without losing the transparency and the confidence you can have in the system, the trust that you can enjoy yourself, that investment can become like entertainment. Oh, I'm going to watch this Netflix video, or I'm going to go on Swissborg Wealth Hub and I'm going to enjoy discovering a new investment opportunity.
Hey, what you doing tomorrow? I'm going to make money. It's cool.
Yeah, and more than that, I think the investment is, before anything else, let's say making money is an external positivity of investing.
But first, yeah.
Yeah, but in first place, it's helping entrepreneur to build a future that you believe in. You believe, oh, this planet is fucked up and we need to travel to other planets. Okay, I'm going to invest in entrepreneur that facilitate this future. If you invest in company that keep destroying the planet, you belong to this reality. You can't complain. And I think, that's one of the greatest mission we have with crypto is to help people to regain control over their wealth and investment, as well being responsible, accountable for the decision they make. Because it's not all about making more money with money. If we do that, we might end up in a situation where we lose everything.
And we go back to square one with the current financial system.
Exactly. Because we've been obsessed with KPI, we lose sight with what is finance. Finance is, I don't have the skills, the technical skills to be an engineer to build electric car, but I can help people to build this electric car that then in the future, we all drive electric car that do not destroy the planet as, traditional car today. I know it's a very, complex debate because for now, electric car technology is not that good, but
it's okay. I guess it's for the sake of I guess the core of your argument is that you're not only investing to make money, the money is a byproduct of the fact that you're actually just executing on following a vision, even though you're just, even though this vision might not be yours, where it's going, what it's showing is aligned with where you want to go. And the investment is just the way for you to rejoin this alignment, really, like to make these things through. I think this is a very interesting perspective you take about investment. I mean, we bring a lot of, we discuss with a lot of people in the space, and very often we sometimes kind of lose sight of one of the reasons why we're here. We're not only here, to build cool stuff. I mean, on the one hand, you have the technology people that will just want to build stuff because it's cool, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? You want to build because you want to build. Like some people just love to build, and this is great. Some people just want to build in order to get richer, because again, it's a space where you tend to build things that are really close to the money. And the closer you are to the money, the bigger the leverage you can have over whatever you're making. So you can make a lot of money. So you have the people who definitely come into the space for that. And you have a core philosophical ideology that some people follow with the products that they're building. And you have essentially, like, this is more shared among protocol developers in general. Like, you build L1s, you build those first thing, or build coins, stuff like that. Like, essentially projects where you do not have an allocation of token at the beginning, because you have like everybody that goes, I'm trying to open the space, trying to make something new. So you have a lot of people sharing that. But at the application layer, it's actually pretty rare to see people who are trying to, I would say, grow really the view that you have, right? Like you're trying to share your vision of, you should invest not only to get rich, but mostly to participate in this new economy, in this new thing, this new philosophy that we would like to show you. And this vision on the application layer, I'll be honest, I really don't really see it. So that's pretty cool. I don't really see other people are trying to push that. I mean, you were mentioning exchanges earlier. I think this is the best example of the opposite of this vision. Like, exchanges is they're selling you bonuses and cash prizes before you even register, right? That's the whole point. Like, your view is really pretty cool. I mean, if you guys are not using Swissborg yet, you would see, you join the app, pretty immediately you're told to, like, look at your assets from a perspective of growing. You're not in a massive trading engine. It's like, oh, you have this. What about making it grow? What about like looking at other assets that are pretty cool? You can go and see what this asset is about. And once you have some, let them sleep and let them grow. Like, you're not pushing people into this FOMO thing, right? Into this whole thing. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think as well it comes down to what is wealth management, because we know a lot of traders, right?
Yeah.
They don't necessarily feel good after one day of trading, because it's a lot of stress. It's up and downs. It's going to play on your family. It's going to play on your relationship. And wealth, when you ask people what is wealth, there is so many definitions you can give. It's not only making money or having more money with money. It can be family, it can be health as well, right? It could be the wellness. It could be contributing to a future we believe in, right? Like planting trees, for example, because we want to save this planet. Again, it's the easy example, but it's one of them. So there is a ton of definition for wealth, but we never stop to think and try to experience and to play with the notion of wealth in order to discover what's my definition of wealth, right? I might like things different from, where you do see value. And again, it is, what I like the most with crypto is gonna shake, if you're not yet in the space, most probably you're going to come to make money because one of your friends did the same. But then as you go to the rabbit hole and you start to discover the entire world of crypto and what is value, you say, fuck, I spent maybe 20 years or even more at school and no one teach me what money is. No one teach me what value is. And it's going to shake every single of these definition you have in your head. And that's the thing. I think we start to lose sight as well with things because we don't know the fundamentals. We don't know what value is. We don't know what money is, and then we get confused. And we can't blame people, but we need actors. And I believe with both of us, we're one of them that try to reconnect people with this notion. It's going to be different. Your wealth is going to be different from mine. And when you go beyond the charts of just saying up and downs, and you try to understand what's behind. Then it opens a completely different world where at the end of the day, you understand that's your journey in this life and you have to find by yourself. And there will be tools and community that help you in this journey. We want to be one of them. And you ask me, what is the journey of Swissborg? I think, of course, at the beginning, I was on my computer all the time trying, to adjust, economics and all these things. Now I'm spending most of my day in meetings and trying to help my team keep seeing the big picture because you get lost pretty easily, in the daily day. And that's the scaling up. It's a lot of energy, but I like it as well. And when you go on Google Calendar, you can see how much time you spend during the week on the meeting. And it's crazy when I see this number, I say, wow, I become almost a guru, kind of. But yeah, I think that's what we need the most. Is it's easy to let's say to collect people, to collect user when you say, oh, come to my app, you're gonna make $200, $500 because you invite your friends and etc. And it's easy to sell fear in a sense, or fear of missing out this amount of money. It's more difficult to create something that people can invest. They don't feel stress. They feel good, and they are going to learn something about themselves because that's the best asset you have is yourself and your time. Money, yeah, it's good. Of course, we all need money, but there is a limit. Any study shows there is a very there is a threshold from which money is not relevant anymore to your happiness, and so investment is as well. One of the mission of investing is helping people to rediscover these things and moving away from the simple equation: more money equal more happiness. It's not going to happen this way.
Of course, I think it might sound like really weird to some people when explained this way, and I mean I totally understand what you mean. I think, as you just mentioned that there's a form of a threshold after which essentially the gains of money have diminishing returns when it comes to your happiness, right? And this is in general still the people who have not reached this yet have more trouble reconciling this vision, and all that. It's just that it can sound weird for some people to say, yeah, but I really don't need more. I'm already at the diminishing return levels. So now what you should optimize for is really having either accomplishing some form of missional thing, really going through a mission or just finding a way to have fun. And I think it's one of the cool things in the way you're building your product. You're looking at it from again, yield, build some wealth, get some money, but then discover, enrich the space, and learn. Right? It's interesting. I mean, I've been there since the very beginning of the iterations of the product, and I could see that from a very early on, people discovering Swissborg will not know, but from very early on, the approach that you guys had was always centered towards the discovery mechanism. How are we going to let people have fun and discover new assets, new things, like learn about crypto. And it was all about like how do we communicate this bug, right? And I think this is pretty cool, like to see where the wealth app is now, and like the journey, the product journey that you had. I think it's pretty interesting. It's I'm glad to have more knowledge than whoever is going to come now on your product and how it has been since the beginning, like when I saw you guys in Tokyo and all that. So that's cool. And I think one thing I would like to really go back on is a point that you touched on earlier. You know, I mean, anybody who does know Swissborg know that you're very strongly community driven, and you've touched upon this point. And like one thing I would like to know is, given that you're on the product side, how would you say that your discussion, your constant communication with the community influences the product side, or influences even the way you see investment? Because it's one thing to say that we do want to influence people and let them experience what we believe investment is. Does it also come the other way around? Like you see the community helping you reshape things, like, oh, we didn't think about this. Actually, that's pretty cool. Like is it always like from you guys to the sharing to the community, or do you also see some form of more of a bottom up, if I may, bottom up vision of community driven product, right? Do you see that? Like, how do you interact and how do you deal with the community?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So concretely speaking, we give a voice to our community. We have a mechanism that we call referendums, where token holder, they can vote on.
You guys really Swiss, damn.
Yeah, it is. And we have something that is called the National Council, that is, all the biggest token holder that can voice their opinion as well, which is very, very Swiss. But yeah, I think it's always come down as well to the good equilibrium between asking directly to people what they feel, what they want, what they see. But as well measuring what they actually do, because I'm not sure we are always aware of what we want. And I don't necessarily like quotes, but Henry Ford was saying, "Oh, if I were to ask to people what they want, they would have say a faster horse," right? And in some sense, it is true. I think sometimes we see solution, but we are not very aware of what the problem is. So what we try to do is to analyze as well. We have a team that is in charge of user research, that is heavily on data and looking at what is the current problem, right? And how can we look at one user experience, for example, from the deposit to the first purchase of a cryptocurrency, and then we say, what's the struggles? What's the thing that are not necessarily understood? What's the, where can we be more transparent, but as well empowering? I think, many people, they say, oh, I want to educate more people. And then they write a bunch of text, or they create experiences that are not, in my opinion, relevant. Education comes as well at the right timing. So for example, if you have a kid and you look at the candle and you say, oh, don't put your finger, you're going to burn yourself, right? Most probably the kid is going to do it anyway, right? Just to have the feeling. Yeah. But once the kid has tried with his own figure and burned himself, now he's ready to be educated.
Well, he was educated. He's burnt himself. Education happens right on that moment. I think this timing that you were talking about is right here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the obsession we have. And it's just the beginning of the journey as well. The Wealth app is only live since a year and a half now. But how can we time as well education, again, to make this process enjoyable and not, before invest, read this 10-page of content. No one wants that, right? Everyone wants to play to a certain extent, and sometimes losing money as well is the process of becoming a successful investor, that you get the chance to know more about yourself. And I think we are in a society that in general blame mistakes too much. And mistakes are not mistakes if we can transform them into learning experience. And that's all we need to do, right? Everything could be seen as a positive outcome if we put the effort, if we make it a learning experience.
I think this is an interesting point. Like when you design an app, let's say a user tries something and then loses some money. it could be, I mean, there's a few ways you can see that. On one hand, you can design the app and show the guy like a big red thing, like you just lost all your dough and all that, and then you're done. But you could also let the user understand that, well, the journey is not over. You know, this is what happened. Do you want to go back on your history? Do you want to see those things? And having access to some historical data, having access to more ways to learn is, I think it's a challenging thing to let the user understand, because as you said, I mean, maybe losing money, the first time you lose money in the trade might be the moment you burn your finger on the candle, right? And it's this is how you know, and like you can move forward with the space the same way you would move forward with your life. I mean, it's a little bit of an overwhelming space. It's the number of assets that come every day are like really, really large. It's a lot of assets coming, and you can't possibly conduct an efficient duty on everything that comes into the space. So how do you go on the space? Like how do you reconcile what you want to do with what's coming? This whole education process is pretty hard for a user, even for people like us. I mean, as you say, you have a team of 25 people who are trying to keep up with the space. Imagine how it is for a non-professional user to do the same, right? And I think this is an interesting thing. Like this whole education process. What I mean here is that this education process is actually just ongoing. Like we keep learning every day the space. I mean, I know we do at Mimo, and I certainly believe you guys do too as well. And Swissborg, like clearly every time we meet each other, it's a lot of catch up about, oh yeah, have you seen those new protocols? Have you seen these new things and what those guys are trying to push? Like those different paradigms that those guys are trying to bring every time we see like new L1s or new DeFi projects. And I think that's pretty cool to see that education not only doesn't stop, but also happens at all levels, because it really doesn't stop like for users, but also for us, for people building. And this is why I think the community involvement is like really key. It's one of the great sources of education for us, at least, like really looking at what the community is doing, because there is the users, but there's also just the vocal people who might not even be users. They're part of your community anyways, right? And looking at all these things is pretty cool. So, well, thanks for the answer. I think it's really meaty. It's pretty cool. Now, like a couple of things again that I want to touch on. You've started this thing, like you and Cyrus, and you had this great idea about democratizing wealth management behind crypto, right? And well, today you've kind of achieved really like at least a part of that, right? It's investing on Swissborg is easy for a lot of people. Already 500,000 users. We can say that you've achieved that step. Now, where are you going from here? Is it more about having more people, and you're in this growth phase where you've achieved this is the dream, and now it needs to reach more people to complete the vision? Or do you want to grow, let's say, broader on a more of a horizontal thing, like doing more really? Like, are there other things that you want to do? What is Swissborg in 6 months? What is Swissborg in 5 years?
That's a very good question. I think one of the very specific thing about Swissborg is we don't have institutional investor with us. So the people that work for the company are actually the people that own the company.
You're a co-op.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and the goal was never to be one other, fintech. We like to say, by the way, we are tech fin, and to be financed by all these guys and going IPO and all these things. And so we don't have constraints like investors that push us and say, oh, you need 10 million users by next year. We don't have these things. So, of course, growing your user base is something nice. We all want that because we believe we have the best product, and the best community and the best philosophy. But when it comes to the roadmap, there is the pragmatic part that is, it's still the beginning of this journey, even though we're proud of what we've done so far. There is still a lot to do, and there is, as you mentioned, we're overwhelmed by innovation. It is gaming. It is NFTs, it is DeFi, and we want to give better access to them, right? We want to, because I think one of what you find out by playing with the crypto space is, it's funny at the beginning. You download your MetaMask, you make your few transfer, and you discover it's so playful. But once you cross this path of educate yourself and play with the ecosystem, then it's pretty tiring to go back every day, right? Spend 2 hours going to one website, another. Yeah, and then there is all, we've seen even big players being hacked. And so it's a complex space, right? It's so much innovation that it comes with, some downside as well. So the goal is to refactor all this experience into a very, very simple experience, automatize as much as possible all these things that if I'm a gamer, I don't need to go to all the platform and do a mall action every day. I can log to Swissborg, deposit my coins that I believe in, the guild or the games I want to support, and have all these things automatized. That's one part that we work very hard at the moment is.
I see.
Yeah, being so. For example, that's one of the reasons why we are going to collaborate, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There is so much action you can take on the Mimo platform, and if you can access from a MetaMask wallet or let's say a natural wallet or Ethereum native wallet. That's the terminology.
Real wallet.
A real wallet, yeah. Or you can do it from Swissborg because we have this partnership together and we will build technology to bridge this thing. And again, that's been one of our mission is to bridge the traditional world with the DeFi world without making it painful. Then there is the other part of what's the dream of Swissborg as well. What we do see in the future as big innovation, as big changer in the game. I think I had a discussion with Yassin just before this podcast, and he told me, if you're not ready to reconsider what you're doing every day in this space, maybe in a few months, you're not going to be relevant anymore.
You're not going to be alive.
Yeah, that's how crazy the space is. You can be disrupted at any moment. So when I do interview, anyone coming to my team, I say, you better be ready to wake up every day and told yourself, maybe what I learned yesterday is irrelevant.
Yeah.
You must be ready to learn. And I guess it's the true for anything in life, but especially in crypto.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about a nascent space, right? Yes. When the space is nascent, there is not much. There's not much room for establishment because establishment can't just happen yet. So how do you go? Well, before establishment, you have shakedowns, and this is something that you need to have when you come early in a space. You need to grow a thick skin, no matter whether you're a builder, no matter you're a user, no matter whether you're an employee, no matter like you're a founder. Like thick skin, resistance to change, and this is how you survive. You were talking about relevance. I think it's beyond relevance. It's really just survival that is conditioning. Because the only reason why you can be irrelevant but still alive is because you have funds. Not every company does, right? And in general, irrelevance means death in crypto, right? It really is just like that. So I think this is pretty cool. And the way you're seeing it grow, like the whole point about not only growing the number of users, but growing what they can do. So making your users happier. So essentially it goes back to the way you're not only community driven, but also making your community happy. I think this is pretty cool. And again, as you touched on, we're working together. As you know, on Mimo is just a protocol at core, right? So it's a protocol that a lot of people use. Even though, we've tried as hard as possible to make the use of the protocol rather convenient, it can only be that convenient because it has to be for a form of a power user. It's a protocol after all. Now, where do we go from here? How do people use this protocol without the pain of interacting with a protocol? Well, this is where you guys come in, and I think the introduction of what we do inside of your app, it might be progressive. First, really introduction of the tokens, then introduction of platform features will make some of your users rather happy. This is why we've decided to collaborate, right? When we opened our channel, I could see on Telegram so many people coming from Swissborg, and they were like, okay, when is it gonna be in the app? Because really, it's gonna be so much easier to use in the app. I'm like, damn, are those guys reading what we want to do? You guys have talked about us on a couple of lives, and yet your community could immediately understand where you guys were going. So I think this is kind of telling that you've been doing a good job at showing your community where you're going without really telling them, because so then they can guess you're showing us a new protocol, maybe this is going to be inside of the app in this way. And I think we're now just executing on it's our vision, but it's also theirs, right? Because they've seen it coming, because well, we've made it for them. That's the whole point.
Absolutely. And to answer your question, how will you keep pace with the innovation? I think, it's collaboration. And I guess we've seen that in the past. Like, I think 20 years ago, I remember Goldman Sachs was developing this technology, for trading or whatever what it was. And they were so big on keeping it for themselves, right? IP, lawyers, and all these things. And few years after, Facebook, Netflix, all these guys, they develop great technology. And guess what? They don't keep for themselves, right? They open source, and then the entire ecosystem of the web develop on top of what these guys are doing. And that's the beauty of it, is you share because you want the ecosystem to grow. And I think the old model, it takes ages for them to understand. It's not all about developing technology and trying to resell to someone. Then the new model came and say, okay, we're going to develop great technology and we're going to open source them because more web user, more user for us. Yeah. It was win-win scenario, but they never pushed the concept to a point where blockchain is pushing the concept where how can we even exchange value, the value that is creating within your network or your community in my community, and do partnership to this level. You're not going to go to Facebook and get more token of Facebook because you use Airbnb as a system for vacation where you tag your friend or you tag your friend on an Airbnb and
way beyond a key differentiator. I think like for this exact thing, it's a very good example. It says there are two key differentiators. Like let me tell you quickly like a thing that I believe about how the tech industry has developed and how we are developing and why is it different. Like at first, you remember Twitter, like when it just came out, like they were rather open. They say, it's open API access and all these things. Everybody built Twitter clients and that was all the rage. And at some point they were like, well, actually no. And they started to close as many doors as possible and like preventing you to embed tweets in a certain way on websites and all these things. And Twitter became like Twitter who had become so popular because of this perceived openness, like immediately like closed down and all that. And that's a key difference between open and open source. Because if it was open source, well, if at some moment you close, people fork and then they keep it open because they prefer it. But well, it's just open and not open source. This is what happened. And in crypto, it's totally different in general. Most protocols are open source. And at this moment, you have a better guarantee on the fact that it stays open because, well, if it closes, at least you can just fork and keep it open. So we have this thing where the collaboration is like de facto, like something more trustworthy. You don't have to believe that we're building things that are open because at time T, right now, this thing is open source, and once something is open source, it has to stay open source. That version is always going to be open source, right? The source has been open. That's it. It's here. It's locked in time. So that's something pretty cool and key differentiator with most of the big tech. Another thing is the value created in tech in general is spread between the companies, the actors. So you have the company like the Facebook and something like that are like developing their developing their software. If they establish a partnership with another company, this other company might get some financial benefit, and the users are only going to have the usage benefit. But in crypto, well, the partnerships tends to have like, at least three entities benefiting. You have the company A, the company B, and the user. And if those three people do not immediately benefit, and not only from some enjoyment perspective, but also from a financial perspective, the partnership in general doesn't happen. Like when Swissborg and Mimo work together, well, Mimo wins, Swissborg wins, and the users of Swissborg and Mimo win. Everybody wins. And this is really new. It did not happen before blockchain. Like the way the value chain, essentially, really, the value chain is leaking so much more profit everywhere. That is like honestly nothing short of revolutionary. And this is why, like when people ask us like why you're so bullish on blockchain, like essentially spreading out to other industries and all that, I'm like, if you think about it from a value perspective, it's the first time we have an industry where value goes like predictably everywhere. Like everyone eats, and without having the need for much contracts and stuff like that, everybody eats. Even though margin can stay razor thin, it's all right. Like as it somehow scales. And to a lot of people saying, well, it doesn't scale, I would just look at the number of L1s and L2 and say like, well, if it doesn't scale on chain A, it will scale on chain B plus C plus D, because when you're like us, like Swissborg and Mimo, I mean, when's the last time we felt like, oh no, too bad, we can't do this. We have to use another chain. It never happens. We just use stuff. Like we're beyond most of those conversations that people have that, well, it can't scale and all that. Now we're just about understanding that it can be used by a lot of people and just building the best tools that those people can use. So I think this is pretty cool. Like I'm pretty happy to again have been able to share with our audience I would say the common ground that we have, and the fact that we think like really much alike on where the space is going and all. So before we close down, I've asked you how you see Swissborg growing and how where you see it going. But I would like to ask two things. Like first is a question about the space in general. Like where do you think we're going? Like where do you think crypto is going? And another one is among this now, is there just one message that you would like our audience to know? If there's one key takeaway message that you want people to know, I don't know, like for me last time, Sammy asked that for me, it was please make sure you do the own due diligence every time you see a new asset. But it can be something, anything, like just one key message you would have. So yeah, tell me.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I love to all these things because it touch so much about society and philosophy and everything around us. And I think what you learn in crypto can help you with relationship, your girlfriend, anything in life. But one other thing I want to say is everything is changing now, and I know it's been the case for every generation. No question asked. Your reality is shaped, and maybe there is period of time where reality is more stable, and then it's going to change again. And I guess we are this phase where we experience so much change, right? And I think if we look at our parents, they were trusting so much president, for example, now, right? And now people trust Elon Musk much more than they trust president. They have much more influence. We see big corporation working on very, very, serious topics such as going to the space. Again, generation of our parents, states, that was the goal of the states to be there, to go there and all these things. So what is a nation? What is currency? What is value? Even the family model is shaken now. And most probably because real estate is something that only goes up because we print a limited amount of money. And of course, when as a family, as someone working for the system, you can't afford to buy your house, your model is going to change. You're not going to accept to do the 8 to 5 job that you don't necessarily like, but in order to feed your family and build this dream. So the society model, we still think with the old system, but the things have changed a lot. And blockchain is a very, very good windows of observation of what's going to be money in the future. We have no clue, right? And you need to understand what is money, because money is nothing else than belief and perception. You need to understand as well what are the trends. So is nation are going to be relevant? And of course, there is all these things about metaverse and gaming, and it's happening in the blockchain more than anything else. We've seen big actors such as Facebook. When you think about it, Facebook is ready to change their entire business line, which is quite successful. Is one of the top 5 stocks in the world. They are ready to change because they see the threats. They see things changing, and they are changing the entire business line because they don't want to be disrupted. And if there is one guy that I don't particularly like, I'm quite neutral, but I trust to take decisions that are, like no one else in the world, is Mark Zuckerberg. He was 24 when he refused to become the first billionaire in the world just to keep Facebook and not being purchased by Yahoo. And, see now where he's standing. So I think there is, a lot of forces coming to this world. And again, crypto is a very good window for preservation because you meet open people that are not afraid to challenge rules that are in place, not in a bad way. They just try to build a different reality that at least it doesn't need to overcome the current reality, but at least it offer an alternative. Because you look at the financial system, no alternative. Look at money, no alternative, and so on, right? And crypto is trying to define an alternative that at least you can make a choice. And that's the most important base for democracy or any of these things is to be ready to make the choice. And we can, again, lose sight with these fundamental rights where you have so easily. So besides speculation, and yeah, I'm pretty sure with time, if you give you the time and you don't invest too much money, you are going to make more money by being invested with crypto that you believe in. And that's my message to you: is do not invest out of fears or just looking at the graph or because someone recommend you. Take the time to get in love with the system, get in love with the company, because that will be volatility. Volatility is an engineering system. It goes up, it goes down. But when you understand why the project exists, when you understand the team, when you have the full spectrum of why you invest, then in the moment when it goes down, you're not going to stress. You're going to just say, okay, I'm going to take the weekend off of my machine, and I'm going to come back in a few weeks or a few months from now. It's going to be okay. And that's the most important part of being a successful investor, is understand before anything else. You need to understand, and you need to connect with what you invest in, and it's going to be fine.
Well, that's a really good message. I think that I'm pretty much aligned with that. It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's I do have a pretty strong opinion that only those who can like really withstand the view, withstand the volatility and withstand the storms, except for lucky people. But only those who can withstand the storm have a space up there among the winners. And the easiest way to withstand the storm is to really use this coat of knowledge of understanding that can really make things easy, because once you're understanding what you believe, it goes up, it goes down. It's all right. At the end of the day, I don't invest only to make money. I invest because I believe in the project. So if it goes down, the project is not down, the project is still alive. Yeah, why not invest even more? And once you have this type of thing, it's much easier to win. It sounds like a double win, because you've really seen it coming and stuff like that. So that's really cool. I'm really glad to hear that. One thing I would like to remind everybody who's listening is that. We're going to close this podcast, so I'm going to come back on things to remind the people. We're hiring, and are you guys hiring as well?
We're hiring a lot.
Yeah, I was going to give you this window. I'm like, I know he's hiring. I'll give him the window. So, okay, tell me quickly before we close, what are you hiring and where?
Product people, tech people, gaming people, any talented people that want to work with a company with a purpose, that is ready to commit. We are hiring all around the world. We are based in Switzerland, but we have team members all across the planet, mostly in Europe, because we are Europe based. And we just look for talent, people that are ready to learn, ready to wake up and be part of the family. We're still in this mode where we still a family. So join the family, guys.
That's great. I mean, it's a huge family of 200 people, but yeah, join it. But this is cool. I mean, we're also hiring at Mimo, software engineers, even people in compliance. We're hiring people on all fronts. Honestly, we're hiring on the product side. We're hiring on the design side. I mean, we're both companies. Both of our companies are in growth phase, and this is the moment where you hire. And it's, I mean, as you know, difficult to keep the bar high when everything is growing like that. But I know you guys are keeping the bar pretty high. It's tough working for Swissborg. They have very good guys there. All good. So, thank you very much for listening. This was the 4th episode of the Mimo Podcast without Nick, unfortunately. I hope I've done a good job at being a host. You guys let me know in the comments. You guys let me know in the comments. And thank you very much for tuning in, and please join our Telegram on Mimo DeFi. Please follow us on Twitter, Mimo DeFi, and please check mimo.capital, https //mimo.capital. Please come, open a vault, play around, use your MetaMask, because again, this is like crypto is only what you make of it. Crypto is about choice, as Anthony has mentioned it, and we give you the choice of not selling. So please, join Mimo, join Swissborg, and have fun. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.